This is the All Things Nerd Podcast, Season 4, Episode 4. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about Lord of the Rings and M.O.D.O.K casting. We're going to talk about a possible cure for cancer, and the Obi-Wan series is on hold, or is it? That and much more. So thank you guys for joining us. Sit back, relax, and here's the intro. Hello to all the Geek Enthusiasts and Nerd Aficionados. This is S5150 welcoming you back to another All Things Nerd podcast. We got a fun one in store for you guys tonight. This podcast is brought to you by malice-corp.com. Head on over to malice-corp.com to see any previous podcasts or any other articles that we have written up about things going on in the world of geek, nerd, and pop culture. In fact, there will be a series looking back at the Buffy the Vampire Slayer show very soon. They'll be getting some breakdowns of that from Icy Zorro and Super Hoovy and Freak. So head on over there and check out what we have in terms of all things nerd at malice-corp.com. So we like to start this show out with getting your geek on.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Getting your geek on is what we've been doing for the last week since you saw us, what things have been tickling our nerdy fancy, and what we think you should be checking out or what you should stay far away from. It is a geek public service announcement to you that if something's bad, don't watch it. If something's great, go watch it now, or listen to it or read it, whatever thing you're doing that's getting your geek on with. It's something I've been wanting to talk about for the last few weeks, and I keep forgetting to bring it up, but I listen to podcasts. That's part of the reason we do these podcasts, because I enjoy listening to them, and I want to get out there and give information to people as well and have fun interacting with everybody. So one of the podcasts I listen to is actually a Marvel podcast. It started out with it's Wolverine, and it was called The Long Night. And it's not so much a podcast as it's an old-time radio show. And it's really cool. The voice of Wolverine is done by, oh God, I can't remember his name. The guy who played Oakenshield in the Hobbit films. I can't remember his name right now, but he's the one that does the voice of Wolverine. And there's two series, so they all connect together. You can listen to it on Stitcher. That's where it's at. But the first one is all about this murder mystery going on in Alaska. There's very little Wolverine in it. It's okay. The second part, where it takes place as a story in New Orleans, he's in every episode. There's a lot more going on. It's a really, really good thing to check out. So I would definitely, if you guys like listening to like old style radio plays or even books on tape, audiobooks type of things, check it out. Wolverine the Long Night. There's a Fantastic Four one as well that I haven't gotten to check out yet, but that's the next thing that I'm going to. Joining us on the cast, we have Bearded Master. What are you geeking out on, Bearded?
Well, for us, those that know me, I am a wrestling fan, and our wrestling big season just started as Royal Rumble is this weekend leading into WrestleMania season. So big part of my January usually goes to rewatching a lot of Royal Rumbles from the past. I'm really getting to that. Boots to the Face, which is my wrestling show. We've been doing a lot of shows this last couple of weeks, getting ready into WrestleMania season. So been geeking out on that. Also, the new season of The Ranch, the final season of The Ranch came out today. So spent most of my day off watching that, which if you have spent time watching the season or you haven't, great time to really geek out and binge all 8 parts of that because it's a fantastic series. I love it. Also, I went and watched Doolittle this week. And I don't know why everyone hates it so much. I thought it was a fantastic movie.
So
and
weird
if you haven't,
on the trailer.
What?
It looks so weird on the trailer.
But it's so good. I mean, from the voice cast to RDJ to Antonio Banderas is in it. I mean, the movie is fantastic. It's a lot different than what the Eddie Murphy movies were. And to me, that's what makes it awesome is the fact that it's not the same. When they do remakes and they try to make them the exact same, they usually fall flat. The different retelling, it's closer to the original content. I thought it was a great movie. So if you haven't done so yet, don't worry about what the critics say. Go in there and enjoy the movie.
Bearded Master approved. Also joining us on the cast, and by the way, The Ranch, I love that show. I'm still halfway through the last season, so I need to go. But I actually went to one of the tapings, so Great. It was a fun show. I'm sad to hear that it's ending. We also have Nudie Rudy joining us, I think, for the first time this year, right?
Yeah.
Welcome back. What are you geeking out on, sir?
Happy to be back. Hey out there, all you nerds and geeks. One of my favorite things was Witcher. I binged the whole Witcher season in basically one night, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was a great show. I think Cavill did some amazing work there. Loved seeing at Comic-Con how much he was enthusiastic about the role and everything, and it really paid off. You could tell his love for the franchise. And also been rewatching Ozark, getting ready for the new season coming up. Great show. Amazing acting. Can't say enough good stuff about that show too. So yeah, big thumbs up for both.
I just got caught up on season 2 in anticipation of season 3, and wow, way better than the first season. Just Bateman is so great in that show.
Yeah, he is. Everybody's great. All the acting. I mean, top notch. Everybody on the show does a great job. But definitely Bateman for sure.
Jax brings up he's been listening to the Lovecraft tapes in the chat room. It is an actual play Cthulhu podcast. Sounds cool. Icy said Doolittle was roundly panned as a bad even for a kids movie. And Icy also says, "Don't lie, you're watching Ozark to remember how to launder money."
Well, got to keep the skills sharp, you know.
And Jack's also re-listening to Robert Bevan's Critical Failures. Nice. So, also joining us on the cast, we got Mind Freak. What are you doing? What are you up to, sir?
What's up, everybody? So last time I was here a couple weeks ago, said I was binging through NCIS, finally finished that, and went back into my anime kick once again, because everybody here knows that I'm huge into anime, and one of the things that I started watching was Rooster Teeth's anime show, Ruby, Volume 7. If you guys like Rooster Teeth, if you've ever been a fan of Halo and like Red versus Blue, and haven't checked out Ruby, check it out. It is a really good show. And like over the years, the animation has, I mean, it's the same program that these, but it has changed a little bit more crisper, stuff like that. But it's a really good show, really good, and the progression of everything that they're doing with it.
They're still doing new Red versus Blues? I thought they stopped.
Red versus Blue, no.
Okay.
I mean, they've done like small, like little this and that, but more so where they've gone, their focus has been shows like Ruby, Camp. But then, you know, like a couple years back, they did their movie Laser Team and then Laser Team 2, which if you haven't seen, watch those as well.
Nice. And lastly, we got her back. She's on this week. Super Hoovian Freak. Hey, Super, what have you been geeking out on?
Let's see. What did I catch up on this week? A lot of my shows are coming back, so I watched the new episode of Prodigal Son. I watched the new episode of Million Little Things. Both of them really, really good. If you haven't watched Prodigal Son yet, you should. Michael Sheen's amazing, and so is the name of the lead guy is escaping me.
It's the guy that plays Jesus from Walking Dead, right? Because
I believe so. Yeah.
To him, I was just like, I know him, but he didn't have long hair and a beard, so I was just like, I was focusing on the eyes.
It's got the mom that played the wife of the president in Scandal, Bellamy Young, I think is her name. She's amazing in it too. She plays their mom. So that was really good. And then what else did I watch? Oh, you know what? I don't know if you guys have ever seen this show, but if you haven't, you should watch it. It's on a channel called VRV. It's called Harmon Quest. Have you guys heard of it? No?
I've heard of it.
It's literally a big D&D player. You've heard of it. So it's Dan Harmon, and he's literally live casting in a studio in Hollywood, him, his wife, Jeff Davis, I think is his name, from the guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway? And then they have a dungeon master, and they bring in a celebrity guest every week for their episodes. But what's cool about it is they record themselves playing first, and then they digitally go in and recreate in a cartoon format what their characters are doing. So they switch between the live action to the cartoon. It's amazing. I mean, they've had Nathan Fillion on the show. They've had Ron Funches, Steve Agee. They've had what's her name, Kate Minucci. I know I'm saying that wrong. So they've had like a ton of really good guests. They've had John Hodgman. You know, and it is absolutely hilarious. So if you don't have it, season 1 is free. Season 2, you can get the free month trial and watch seasons 2 through 5. Go watch it. It's hilarious.
Okay. Sounds awesome. So awesome. All right, that's the geek out from Super. Let's get into the big chunk of the show, and that's the nerd news. So we got a lot to talk about this week, and we have 3 major stories and a bunch of rapid fire news to hit as well. The first one, we're going to talk about one of our TV stories, and that's because Bearded Master was like, we need to talk about this. So I went and looked into it and looked deeper because we've talked about it before, but we didn't realize that we got a cast. So Lord of the Rings has a pre-series, a prequel coming that takes place before Fellowship for Amazon. Amazon's putting it together. It's supposed to be the biggest produced show of all time. They're throwing a lot of money into this. Little is known about the series outside of the factor that it's going to be before Fellowship of the Ring, and that's pretty much it. We know who's creating the show, but now they gave us a cast, so I'm going to read off all these names. It's a big list. We got Robert Aramayo, who played young Ned Stark in Game of Thrones. Owen Arthur did nothing major. Nazanin Bonadi, man, you guys love this when I do this. Has lots of small parts, and she's an up and comer. Tom Budge,
Nora in How I Met Your Mother.
Well, that's what I mean. Lots of small parts. She's been in a lot of small things, but yeah. Tom Budge, lots of small roles. Morfydd Clark, she was in His Dark Materials, the new one. She was in the new Dracula miniseries, Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. Ismael Cruz Cordova was the Twi'lek from Mandalorian that got rescued on the episode with Bill Burr. Yeah. Emma Horvath, newer actor. Markella Kavanaugh, newer actor. Joseph Mall played Benjen Stark in Game of Thrones. Tyro Mahafidin, kid, first gig. Sophia Namvete, first gig as well. Megan Richards was in Wanderlust. Dylan Smith was in Into the Badlands. And Charlie Vickers was in a show called Medici, which I never watched. Kind of newer actor. But this was a global search. So they said literally, after their global search, they have found their cast. So they went worldwide. What do you guys think in terms of it's a lot of new faces?
I think it's awesome. I think that we got enough people in here that have been trickled into different fan lores before. So those who are typically going to be watching Lord of the Rings have probably tuned into some of these other shows. I mean, obviously, Game of Thrones is a big one. And having 2 cast members from there, despite being smaller roles. I mean, even though one is Uncle Benji, but it's going to be I don't know. I think that the fact that giving people that are less known brings more of a draw to it. It doesn't get overcrowded by star power. Makes it more about the show and the story, makes them have to work harder to do it and to build a story that intrigues us to stick to it and watch it.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it lets you really fall into the characters and not just see the actor behind it. I mean, it worked pretty well with Game of Thrones. Most of those actors weren't, very well known at the beginning of Game of Thrones, and you really learn to identify with the characters, and not get lose your suspension of disbelief, So I like it. Works for me.
I think it's
and I love the prequel setup.
Yeah, what I find interesting about it too, it's like it's kind of not necessarily like opposite Marvel, because I mean with Marvel you have these big names associated with the characters, who those characters are. With this, it's kind of the flip flop. It's Lord of the Rings. Yeah, there was the movie, the original trilogy, and then The Hobbit, and then a lot of people that some knew, some didn't, this and that at the time. But now with going with Amazon, with just practically brand new people with with little to very to none screen things, but then like Bearded one said, you have a couple of names that had small roles from Game of Thrones that kind of adds that, hey, these are in Game of Thrones. Let's check out Lord of the Rings. How is it different from Game of Thrones? This and that for those there are some of those out there that prefer Game of Thrones over Lord of the Rings. So maybe this is another way to bring like another fan base over to something too.
The one nice thing about it is that this is supposed to be set in the Second Age, which is thousands of years prior to what we get in Lord of the Rings and the battle for the ring. Leading up to, I mean, there's literally like 3,400 years that they can cover. So the stories that are in this are endless. The nice thing that's about this series is the fact that they have pretty much free reign, because they're not anything that's happening in this, as long as they associate it to what happens in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, they got free reign on it, because it has nothing to do with what Tolkien wrote. They're not rewriting anything that Tolkien wrote. It's all basically, as long as the properties have been left alone, then they can do whatever they want. And since there is no pre-work for this, it's, hey, here's the character base, here's the world is Lord of the Rings, here's the timeline, have fun. And the fact that we can get multiple seasons out of this, that's going to be awesome and intriguing.
Well, they actually do have a lot of backstory that you may not realize. There's a whole book called The Silmarillion that was published posthumously after Tolkien's death, that has a lot of the back lore and the stories and the time from the Second Age, which was the time of the forging of the One Ring. And so I think it's actually good they do have a lot of source material. I mean, Tolkien wrote a whole mythos and mythology and a whole, like, a bunch of stuff that never even got into Lord of the Rings other than mentions, that was kind of just like an encyclopedia, a Bible of just this rich world he had created just for backstory that they actually can refer to and use for a lot of this, but nowhere near as much as the whole book's Lord of the Rings. So they can really flesh it out in a lot of ways. But I like the fact that they have that bones and that structure, because, I mean, I don't know the team with Amazon, but when you see people that have zero source material, like the last few seasons of Game of Thrones, I'm a little gun shy to see those guys just run off with no source material.
To go with the similarity, and what that kind of leads up to the Forge of the Ring, and that's kind of where the Second Age ends, is with Sauron making that ring and getting the One Ring to rule them all. So but there's literally thousands of years before we even get to that point where that all does prequel the Silmarillion story that Christopher finished for him. So yeah, there is a lot of story there for them to go off of, but what's going to be based on the Second Age, it's kind of basically is, hey, here's the bullet points, connect them.
Yeah, we got one comment.
Not like Martin over there who says, hey, this is what we're going to do, now go fail it so I can rewrite the story.
Jack says the Silmarillion reads like Genesis, and
it's
Josh says, the Silmarillion, or however you spell it, is like the Old and New Testament of Lord of the Rings. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it's an interesting cast to go juxtaposition wise from a bunch of nobodies in terms of really being known to these other casts that got announced. It's going to be Marvel's first more mature themed cartoon series coming out for M.O.D.O.K, and this cast is loaded for a voice animated series. So first and foremost, M.O.D.O.K is being voiced by Patton Oswalt. And if you don't know Patton Oswalt, you should just go look him up. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Including other Marvel stuff.
Yes, he was the what was the agent? The multiple agents, because they were
multiple
triplets on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So he's the titular character of M.O.D.O.K. And then you've got Amy Garcia, who was in Lucifer and Dexter as Jody, who is M.O.D.O.K's wife and mother to his children. And then Ben Schwartz, who is on Parks and Rec, and I can't remember his character's name now.
He's
John
Ralphio.
John Ralphio. Yeah. He's the 12-year-old son
John
of
Ralphio.
And then you've got Melissa Fumero from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Wendy McClendon-Covey, who's on the Goldbergs now, but was also on Reno 911. Yep. Beck Bennett from Saturday Night Live, John Daly from Curb Your Enthusiasm, Sam Richardson from Veep. Just a really strong cast. Like they went all out with the comedy and known items here. So what do you guys think about this?
So yeah, when it comes like voice, like the actors, this is the complete opposite. As when it comes to like animated, having those well-known names come to it, it helps. For me, it draws the attention to come watch them. If I'm going to watch a cartoon, it's gotta have to be intriguing to me, and the story and content, that's going to do one thing, but having the like cast that I like and follow, that draws me in. Whereas I'm focusing on the characters and I just hear their voice talking about it, rather than focusing on the acting that's going into the series.
With it, like I said, it's with Marvel. They have the money and like the ideas to be able to spend to get these big names and stuff like that, to also pull more interest back into it. I mean, it's a Marvel name, so when you have the name of Marvel, almost anything that's going to happen could relatively be good, just depending on what you're looking at. But the fact that you're going with an animated series and you have a strong cast like that with a comedian, but people that are known for like comic and funny kind of roles, it kind of makes you wonder, all right, what is this animated show going to be like?
Yeah, and personally, my favorite casting is actually Sam Richardson out of everybody. I really enjoyed him in Veep, and like, I don't want the poor guy to get typecast, but seeing his character in Veep, it's absolutely spot on, perfect for the role they've got him with on this show. So I'm real excited to see what he does. Other than Patton Oswalt's great casting as well, but yeah.
Well, so is Melissa Fumero from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I know me and Bearded one watched that a lot. She is hilarious in that.
So Marvel comic book fans really know who M.O.D.O.K is, which is not a big character or super popular character.
He's a big dome.
Yeah.
Massive melon.
He's like Marvel's Krang.
He runs AIM, and M.O.D.O.K stands for Mental Organism Designed Only for Killing. And when you're asking like, where's this story gonna go? So it's M.O.D.O.K having to confront his greatest challenge yet, having a midlife crisis. So they're just not going with the true way that this story is going to go. They're just going to have fun with it. So it says he gets ousted from his evil organization, and now he has to reinvent himself if he ever wants the chance to win back the things in his life that are most important. Outside of conquering the world, it's about finding out that superheroes are nothing compared to his newest challenge and midlife crisis. The mother is taking care of her blog in this show. The 12-year-old son is not athletic enough to be a jock, not smart enough to be a nerd. Lou is Lou, a kid who clearly marches to the beat of his own drum. Lou lack of friends, ambition, and hygiene is a constant worry for M.O.D.O.K, who often projects his own insecurities onto his overly confident son. The Melissa Fumero is playing the daughter, 17-year-old Melissa, who has risen the ranks to become the Heathers-like queen bee of her school and a star in the world of teen figure skating. Ever popular kid either wants to date her or avoid her terrifying wrath, but for all of her success, she yearns for her father's approval. So yeah, it's just a straight up comedy, midlife crisis, but throwing in Marvel characters into it.
Melissa Fumero's character, the fact that her name is Melissa, but then also like that kind of sounds like how her character from Brooklyn Nine-Nine was a little bit. I'm just like, this is going to be a comedy gold kind of thing in a way, I think, at least.
Well, okay, so the supporting characters, Wendy McClinton-Covey plays Monica, who is a mad scientist. So yes, okay, I'm good with that. I'll take that. So she's his antagonist in this. And then this is the best part about it. So after M.O.D.O.K's evil organization is run into the ground, he is forced to sell it to Silicon Valley tech giant Grumble. Grumble sends slick 20-something Austin, who is played by Beck Bennett, as a post-merger integration consultant. So he's got to sell AIM to Silicon Valley.
It's fun to take it small. I mean, Marvel's got all these big, massive storylines, and the fate of the universe is always at stake. And this is really taking, the M.O.D.O.K character and bringing it down to a small slice of life sitcom setup almost. I really like seeing what they're going to do with it.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be great.
This also gives us our idea what Disney's going to do with Hulu, having controlling interest, because they're not putting it on Disney Plus. They're putting it on Hulu, which more adult themes to it. So that's seems like that's where Hulu's going to be for all their stuff, where they're like not as kid friendly. They're going to throw it over to Hulu. Next story. So this one is the science story for us. Big, massive implications if they're able to actually 100% get this going. It was apparently discovered that part of our immune system that they just happened upon can actually be harnessed to cure cancer. They haven't done any human trials yet, but with the trials that they have done, it's not just one specific type of cancer, which they have had some things that they did prior, and I'll get more details on this. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it. You know, if this is, how does this change the world if this ends up happening?
I mean, I read this article, and I don't act like a scientist. I don't pretend to be one. I don't talk like I'm one. I did go to school for science, all those of the animal sort, not of the cancerous or medical sort. But I don't know. It just sounds like what they were saying was that there's potential because they found one item on there that they were to do it this way and that way. I feel like it's all just literature for us to see. It feels like it's all on like what ifs can happen, but there's no testing done on it yet. So there's nothing to show
There's
that this is even
testing done,
legitimate.
just not with human patients. So what
Yeah,
they found was a
that's
T
successful animal
cell
trials,
inside
yeah.
people's bloods that is it's an immune cell that can scan the body to assess whether there's a threat that needs to be eliminated, and basically they said it raises the prospect of one size fits all, where it'll attack every different type of cancer. And the T cells have receptors that let them see at a chemical level. So what they can do is they can get this T cell and its receptors to find and kill just cancerous cells, including lung, skin, blood, colon, breast, bone, prostate, ovarian, just every type of cancer that they found. And what they've had problems with before was they were finding they did what was called an MR1 in cancer cells, and it's the first of its kind. So it's actually able to attack the stuff. But like I said, they've only done it on little samples and some animal testing. There has been no human testing yet, because what they have to do is they have to go and get somebody that has the cancer, find the T cells that they have within them, pull those, then create a big old vat of them to produce all these to then put into somebody else. That's why there has been no testing yet, because they don't know what that's going to do to somebody.
I mean, if they can get it all to work out, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Friends and family that I've known that have gone through multiple different types of cancers, if this is going to be like a universal cure that fixes them all, that's awesome. I think that'd be great, and it's something the world needs. As long, I mean, then you got the politics behind it. Hopefully, the politics behind it don't go as crazy. But this has become something that's readable and accessible to all, because if this is truly what it can do, basically your body is becoming its own cure for it. That would be something that'd be fantastic to help those who need it.
That is definitely the best part. That's part of your own immune system. I mean, that's amazing. You know, your immune system is a wonderful thing, and to be able to harness the power of your own immune system to fight these things, you know, it's like using a scalpel versus using a hammer, you know, to do surgery. Like with these current techniques of chemotherapy and the radiation they have available, kill so many healthy cells. It's just it's ludicrous. So to have something that will really only just target the cancer cells, and something that's so close to an already existing therapy, they've had T cell therapies in the past already that just were only be able to use for very specific cancers, but that we have proven track record can work. If they can get a wide-ranging T cell therapy that can work on many different cancers, that's going to completely revolutionize medicine, and you know, I think be an amazing boon for all of humankind. I mean, cancer is a real scourge, and you know, like Bearded Master said, it's taken a lot of people. Took my dad. You know, it's a horrible thing. You know, so you know, I really hope that you know, the human trials work well, and that this ends up being a really viable therapy. It sounds like an amazing discovery.
Yeah, because the thing that New Rudy's bringing up is the CAR T is the example they used before, where it was actually able to transform patients from being terminally ill to being in complete remission. but it had struggles to have any success against solid cancers. So any type of tumors or anything, but worked against blood cancers. So there was some already kind of worked. It's just they're the thing they're talking about is they're at the early stages of this. So we don't know what the timeline is on if they could get this to work or not. It could be 5 years down the line. It could be a 20-year trial. You just don't know. Okay. All right, let's get into this big story. Let's get into this major story that we decided not to talk about last week because we wanted to wait until the chips fell, until we got more that this was proven something was going on. And you can catch my little nerd rant on the last episode where I got mad at people for jumping into conclusions before getting actual legit sources and stuff talking about it, where they were saying that Obi-Wan was getting canceled. It's not getting canceled. People, chill, relax. But it is being put on hold. So apparently, according to the Hollywood Reporter, according to Collider, and I think even Variety or someone else talked about it as well. They did say that the show is being put on hold at this time. They're moving from 6 scripts to 4 because there was 2 that were written and they weren't happy with how the scripts looked of the 2. Apparently Kathleen Kennedy wasn't happy with it. So they decided to go back to the drawing board, and at least the director and Ewan McGregor are still attached. Beyond that, they don't know if they're going to be bringing other people in to work on this. Yeah, and then the next step from there was Ewan McGregor came out and said it's all bullshit. Was his exact words. So we don't know if it's actually on hold. What do you guys think about the whole rigmarole that's going on with this?
Well, all he confirmed was that I don't know if it's on hold, but they pushed it back, the filming, to next year. That's
and he said it's still going to come out when it was supposed to come out. So
yeah, so all they did was give themselves less time to do reshoots and make changes if they needed to. It sounds like nothing is changing except when they're actually starting the project. But that's the internet for you. You hear one little rumor and it balloons out to this, ridiculous, everything's canceled, the world's ending, I hate Star Wars is basically what I got from the internet this week.
And then there was an article that I read yesterday, the day before, and it had a lot to do with the interview that McGregor had for Birds of Prey, and it kind of turned into questions regarding Obi-Wan, and he came out and said, you know what, after Rise of Skywalker came out, it gave everybody time to get off that hype and off the high that was the final movie coming out, and what gave us time to go back and reread those scripts. And we realized that there was more to do for them, and we needed to rewrite portions of it to make it the story we wanted to make it to. So yeah, it's been pushed back a few months, but it's still on pace. They're just wanting to rewrite to make everything the right corrections so that the story flows the way it's supposed to, rather than having something come out and then not meet the criteria or the standard that they want to have out there for it. And I think for that reasons, that's fantastic. That means they're doing what they should be doing rather than just pushing product out and trying to force it out there.
So just everything that's been going on with Obi-Wan, fans have been talking about it for a while. They finally announced it. Everything's getting ready. And then all this stuff happened. It's just some of the different things I read. It's just trying to make sure everything is right before they move forward, because I think that's Disney's seen the success of everything, and most of the different reports I've seen, it has to do with the script or something, not necessarily people leaving this and that, but also too it kind of brings up some little bit of worry on my end, just because with all the directors and stuff that have been leaving and walking out on other Disney projects and stuff like that, for some of the same reason. It's the whole creative differences kind of thing. So it's either that Disney needs to back off, let the people do what they're going to do, and let them just create this gold, or they're just going to try to get their hand involved in everything and potentially not have anything good.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, Nudie. I know you're not the big Star Wars fans.
I mean, just in general, I think, like you said, it's good to hear it from Obi's mouth himself and get the actual real word, and not fly off the handle with just rumors and such. And now that we know what's going on, hey, it'll probably be a better end product with a little more polish on it.
Well, and that's the thing that and joining us in the chat room, Ruru too joins us, and so does Polyfuse. Haven't seen you, Polly. How you doing? Ruru says Obi-Wan joined the dark side, and Ruru 2 says Kathleen Kennedy, you are fired. Masonic joins in the chat room as well, saying save Obi-Wan. Yeah, so I mean, one thing that was brought up at the Facebook group that everybody can join on Facebook under groups, all things nerd podcast. Come chit chat, come interact. We drop all these stories that we're talking about and GIFs and memes and stuff there all the time, every day, any time of night. If you have something that you want to promote or you want to have other people check out in terms of nerd stuff, come join the Facebook group and drop whatever, drop stuff over there as well. But we talked about this over there, and Masonic had brought up that it sounds like Kathleen just wants to make sure that it's done right. But Robert Bryson also brought up in the comments that after Mandalorian, she should stay, just keep her nose out of things, just let it run, because she had nothing to do with Mandalorian. It was all Filoni, and it was all
Favreau.
That did it, and this is their biggest success they've had with Star Wars as Disney outside of Rogue One. So I don't know. I like hearing that Ewan's saying, hey, the scripts were good, we're just giving it more time. After Rise of Skywalker, everybody got more free time, which that tells to me that the double-edged thing is that after Rise of Skywalker, it didn't do as well as we were hoping that Rise of Skywalker would do, so we're giving it more time to write more on it to make sure it does good. Lots of quotes there. So that's the feel I got from it. And Big Papa Ren says there'll be Obi-Wan news at Hall H at Comic-Con. You know what? That wouldn't surprise me, because you don't have a D23 this year. So yeah, now you push this out, and now you come out with a big announcement for Star Wars stuff at Comic-Con this year. Would not surprise me whatsoever. Let's move straight into the rapid fire news. Yeah. This is the news stories where we get quick reactions, quick thoughts about the stuff that has been going on in the world of geek, nerd, and pop culture. We do it rapid fire because there's so much to cover that we have some stuff that we want to talk about, and we just want to get people's ideas and thoughts about it. So first and foremost, in the world of the DC cinematic universe or extended universe or whatever you want to call it, it's a question mark on if there is one or not anymore, but we've started getting some good DC films to replace the bad ones. In order to fix this, apparently Bad Robot is coming on to do a Justice League Dark either movie or TV series, which includes characters, if you read Justice League Dark, Swamp Thing, Zatanna, Constantine, basically your more darker characters in the world of DC Comics. What do you guys think?
I love Zatanna, so I say go for it.
I love Constantine, and they're gonna do it right and give us more Constantine outside of what they've already given us and more seasons. And even if they go back and do Swamp Thing right, yeah, sign me up, please.
You mean if they fixed what they did because they did Swamp Thing right, but they screwed up their
exactly
their money situation? Are you ready?
I think it sounds like fun. DC has done well with the darker, grittier material. The whole Dark Knight series was amazing. So, I like to see what they do with the material they've got here. They're going with what they've done well in the past. So,
and by them bringing on Bad Robot, that alone is fantastic. Sure. It doesn't matter. Every time Abrams puts himself on something, it's already a better content than what it was before. He showed that I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan. I would even go venture to say I'm not a Star Trek fan. But because of what Abrams did, I watched the Star Trek movies, the Chris Pine movies, because of Abrams attached to it. Alias was one of my favorite shows when it was on.
Love Alias.
We wanted him back for Star Wars because of what Johnson did with Episode 8. It's just every time Bad Robot's attached to something, the list of content usually outranks a lot of other people's, and it's because Bad Robot does the time to put quality out there. And by having them come on to DC, a brand that just can't get their crap right, hopefully by having them working both TV and film, bring some consistency across the board for them.
With Bad Robot, I mean, essentially, that's Abrams' company, but it's not necessarily mean that he's the one that's going to be involved with it. But the fact that you have a company like Bad Robot that has put out a lot of good films and other things out there, for them just with how the turnaround of DC has been lately, the movies have been getting better, the stories are getting better. So why not add the darker side of things to it and let a company like Bad Robot be the ones to do it? I think DC is kind of on the track of doing it, getting back to what they kind of had the idea of everything when they first started this whole universe.
Masonic Vader says Bad Robot equals good things. Polyfuse says dark sells. Rurutu says say that to Rise of Skywalker, which Masonic responded with $1 billion. What a failure. Josh Cobb says episode 1 is amazing. Thank you, Josh. I need to check that out. And Polyfuse says it's Star Wars, even if it's bad, people will watch it. Yeah, so there's a big old argument going on about Star Wars in the chat room now. So, look at what we've started. Let's move on to the next rapid fire news story number 2. It's Netflix is doubling down on The Witcher because you're not getting a second season until 2021. They said they made little hints that maybe something else would be coming. Well, they pretty much proved it. They said it on their Twitter account. There is an animated Witcher series movie, Nightmare of the Wolf, coming. Thoughts?
Are you trying to get people burned out on it before it even establishes a good, solid fan base? I mean, I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know.
See, I haven't watched the Witcher series yet, but I played the games. The games are fantastic, and I think if I read correctly too, that The Witcher was Netflix #1 most watched show within the first week, with I think it was over 70 million views.
That's good. I mean, that is good. But how's the reviews been on it? Because I've seen mixed reviews. I've seen people that think it's absolutely terrible, doesn't follow the books at all. Henry Cavill is, words that are not appropriate for this cast.
I don't know if it doesn't follow the books at all. It doesn't follow the video game, which makes people that don't read the books this isn't
Yeah. Well, I didn't read the books, so for me that wouldn't be a deal breaker because I wouldn't know if it's following the books or the video game at all. But yeah, there's people that absolutely love it and think Henry Cavill is a god, and then there's people that said some things about Cavill that's, like I said, not appropriate for this cast.
I mean, the same thing. I mean, they said the same thing about him with his, mustache in Justice League.
Rurutu makes the perfect comment that I was going to bring up. He says people love Witcher, critics didn't like it because too much nudity and confusing timeline. That's the one. The confusing timeline is what everybody's been like. I can't. So they put out this explaining what the timeline is type of thing.
Is it like Memento level confusing?
There's 3 interweaving storylines around each character that take place at a different time period on each storyline, and they never really clearly say that, hey, this is taking place this time, take place this time. So I do think that's a little strange. Knowing the games, I've read the books either, but I immediately picked out that, oh, hey, this is in the past. Oh, this is a different time. It was easy for me to pick out, but I have heard the exact same thing Wes is saying, that confused a lot of people, and I get it, but I don't think they needed to hold people's hands, and you can figure it out towards, I guess, basically the last episode. You kind of realize it weaves everything together, but I sort of like that. I mean, come on. I mean, we're decades past Pulp Fiction with jumping timelines and stuff. People can figure it out. You don't need to hold their hand and explain it.
Time traveling episodes to be able to figure it out. Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, is that people are complaining about the timelines and not understanding it. And people that I keep seeing complain about are people that I know. And it's like, well, are you watching it to understand it? Or are you watching it to kill time and just get through the series? Because if you're going to sit there on Netflix and play on your phone, you're not going to know what's going on. But if you sit there and watch the show like you're supposed to, then you're going to see what the foundation for what this series is going to be. And when it comes to adding the cartoon series to it, I think it's fantastic. One of the biggest downfalls about Netflix is that they released the entire series, which is 8 to 12 episodes per season, and then we have to wait 10 months before we get something else. By having this bridge show to go with it, it's going to be the fact that it's connected to it, so it kind of continues the storyline because they're going to be working in conjunction, but then it gives us more of the content to watch throughout the year rather than, for some of us, one weekend and they have to wait the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's to be honest, that's why I haven't jumped into it super hard, because I'm like, man, I already jumped into The Mandalorian and got all on that, and then I found out I have to wait a year, to get season 2, and I didn't really want to do that with The Witcher. I was just like, I kind of want to wait because I would rewatch it beforehand anyway. So I kind of just want to watch things that I know are going to be on a consistent timeline. Like, I haven't started it yet because it just dropped last night, but The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina has been very consistent. They just dropped their 3rd season, and they seem to be going in like 6 to 7 month intervals. And, you're only getting about 8 to 9 episodes an arc, but it's flowing and it's coming, and you're not sitting there waiting for a year to 18 months twiddling your thumbs.
Nope, that's what happens though sometimes. So
the one thing I will say to add on that is like the fact they announced this, but they haven't announced whether Henry's attached to do the voice work for it as well. And like they kept that on the silent, and that's kind of interesting because if you're going to make these connected, then I feel like you have to do it with the cast rolling over. That's just the way I feel on that. I know some people don't care for that, but because it's animated versus live action, but when it's the same storyline and same world, I feel like it needs to have that connection to it.
Yeah, there's some comments in the chat room about this. Josh Callis says, Witcher series, you can't always follow the books like GOT. Polyfuse says, I drink the tears of the book readers, keep me well hydrated. Jack, our producer, says, the problem with Witcher is they match the way the games run time, and when you watch the show without knowing how the time is working out, you can't keep up. Polyfuse also says the animated series might be like the Animatrix and fill in the gaps. So that's interesting way of looking at it. So yeah, rapid fire news story number 3. Hunger Games. You thought the books were over, but there's a prequel book and it comes out in May. And the surprising thing is it takes place 64 years before the stories that we know, and the protagonist is none other than President Snow as a hero. Thoughts?
Well, first off, is everyone going to copy Harry Potter in like everything? They were the first one to split their ending into 2 movies, and then everyone jumped on the 2 ending movie train. And then J.K. Rowling writes a prequel, and then, well, I don't know if she's the first to write a prequel to a story, but it just seems like she wrote The Fantastic Beasts. Now everyone has to have a prequel book to their series and whatnot. I actually am kind of intrigued because you kind of wonder, how did he change from this supposed hero, good guy, to the manipulative little bastard that he turned out to be in the Hunger Games?
Well, just in the synopsis of what it's supposed to be, I think it tells us in there how it's going to turn into the jerk he is. I think it's fantastic. But if they're going to turn this, they need to make this hurry up and fast because I'm down for this. I want more of it. Pretty sure that Tolkien did the whole prequel after the series. Yeah, no.
I don't remember the timeline of his books, so
I'm pretty sure Hobbit came out after Lord of the Rings came out.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, the original, like the Silmarillion came out after both of those series. So,
but the Silmarillion was an anthology, right? That's a little different, right?
It's a different talent of it, but it's essentially it's the prequel to Middle Earth.
Ruru says, I'm pretty sure Simpsons already did it. Masonic says Back to the Future film movies at once. Does that count?
I'm mostly just bitter that everyone splits their final book into 2 movies now because
I mean, leave Twilight and Hunger Games alone. I mean, come on. I mean, technically, so it's totally, Avengers did the same thing because they split Infinity Wars and Endgame.
I can appreciate that one. Sarah don't want to sit in no movie theater that's 7 hours long. I mean, I got to get up and move.
The story on this though is intriguing though, from like him being in school, like essentially college, and seeing the way it happens, and actually just the synopsis of it all kind of explains a little bit what happens in like the Hunger Games and the way he treats Katniss and the way he Haymitch and everything. Like, it's like, oh, if that's what's going to happen in the story, then okay, I can see a little bit already how that took place.
Any thoughts on Mind Freak?
No, I'm not a fan of the Hunger Games. I haven't read the books or stuff like that, so I have no comment.
Nudie?
Same deal. Don't know the universe in the slightest.
Okay. All right. Rapid fire news story number 4. So there's a new Mars Rover, and they needed a name for it. So they've got it down to 9 finalists because they actually asked students from kindergarten to high school to name the rover. It went through 28,000 potential names down to 4,000, and then you had 4,700 volunteer judges. Dwindle it down to 155 semifinalists, and now we're down to 9. So I'm going to give you the names. I want to get your guys' thoughts on it, or which one's the best in your opinion. You have the Endurance, which was given to us by kindergarten to 4th grade. Tenacity, given to us by kindergarten to 4th grade. Promise, given to us by kindergarten to 4th grade. Perseverance from 5th to 8th grade. Vision, 5th to 8th grade. Clarity, 5th to 8th grade. Ingenuity from 9th to 12th. Fortitude from 9th to 12th. And Courage from 9th to 12th.
2 of them stick out to me, and I kind of like them. Also, like, Endurance was the name of like a one that already went into space, so that should have been eliminated already. But I don't know. I kind of like Vision and Promise. That's for what we're doing, for what this is supposed to be. I mean, trying to like really get to that next step of like learning more about Mars and whether and what was actually there, what can be there. You know, the vision and promise of what this can be. I think that's where it leads to. So I kind of like those 2 names. All the rest of them are like, okay, that's obvious. Why go that? You out of thousands of suggestions, those ones are the ones that made it through. How bad were the other ones?
What about you, Nudie?
I'm actually kind of fond of Perseverance. Is probably my favorite. I really like that, especially after the last rover lasting as long as it did, and it's kind of a nice callback, you know. And I dig that. I also dig Ingenuity, but I think Perseverance is the better name for this. I don't think Ingenuity fits. Maybe it was the very first rover on there. I would like Ingenuity better, but for what we got, that's definitely my favorite. Perseverance. I like that. Mars Perseverance.
Me, I the one that kind of stood out to me was Courage, because if you think about like the wordplay of everything, like the first one was Curiosity. You know, we were curious of what's up there. Now we have the courage to kind of go back to it. So yeah, that'd be mine.
Nice. And what about you, Super?
I like tenacity because, well, 1, it's not a word that gets used enough. And then 2, it kind of sums up like the human spirit. You know, we were tenacious enough to try to even build a rocket ship in the first place and kept going with it. We are a tenacious creature. I mean, we don't let downfalls bring us down. We don't let failures keep us down or whatever. And we keep going, we keep building. I mean, perseverance sums that up too, but I hear that word a lot. You don't hear the word tenacity or tenacious a lot. So I think it stands out a little bit more.
Yeah, we got our
Tenacious, and then as they land,
That's
Tenacious D started playing.
Takes a lot of tenacity to
Got a block and gas to a theme song for it. I like it.
Yeah. And then it takes a lot of tenacity to come in and troll troll a podcast. And
exactly.
Ruru has said that Vision he liked. It's an unmanned mission, so no courage. And what was there? Was another one in there. Name it Lebowski is what Polyfuse says. The
dude.
Awesome. So let's get on to the last bit of this cast, and that is somebody's got to talk about it.
We need to talk.
You talking to me?
Oh my God! Who told you?
Have you told anyone else about this?
What you talking about?
Look who's talking.
Somebody's got to talk about it is the weird stories, the odd stories, those just downright funny stories that somebody's got to talk about. And apparently everybody started talking about this one after it happened because it trended like crazy with the hashtag RIP Mr. Peanut, because for Superbowl, which hasn't come yet, but we got our first big commercial from it. Planters Peanuts has killed off Mr. Peanut after 104 years and actually announced his death. So in a commercial with Wesley Snipes and Matt Walsh, they both get flung off of a cliff with Mr. Peanut, and they tell each other to let go. And Mr. Peanut's the one that sacrifices himself, where they're like, no, not you, Mr. Peanut. But yeah, they've confirmed it that he's dead. I wanted to get your thoughts, and I wanted to know, it's a rule of 3, who's the next 2 mascots to go?
Hopefully Gritty's one of them.
Well, if we jump on the next 2 mascots to go, I mean, one of them has to be the Hamburglar. I mean, that guy's cholesterol's got to be off the charts.
Hamburglar. It'd be Grimace first.
Did somebody say Gritty?
Damn straight.
Gritty needs to go. What was Ryder thinking with Gritty?
Any other ideas of who should go? I know, I think in our Facebook chat, on the Facebook group, on the All Things Nerd Podcast Facebook group, I think we had Twix the Rabbit was going to go next. And I can't remember what the other one was.
The Lucky Charms guy, I think, was the other one that she said.
As St. Patrick's Day comes up, they're gonna off Lucky Charm. Man,
dude, that guy's gonna live forever, man. You know he's stealing luck from all the good places.
Jackson. Josh says so. Now he's Mr. Peanut Butter. No, the thing. He falls in.
He's roasted peanuts.
Up. Yeah, he's a roasted nut now. So,
first of all, he's not dead. Talk about cliffhangers of all cliffhangers while they're hanging from a cliff. He's not dead. I mean, come on. Chewie lived.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Peanut will pop up in the middle of the second half of that commercial during the Super Bowl next Sunday when whoever's watching. I know I won't be watching, but I'm sure somebody will. And I'm sure that commercial will be thrown out there somewhere.
What it's gonna be is, it's not gonna be the Mr. Peanut we know with the monocle and the top hat, and he's gonna come out like a phoenix, born from the fire of the car wreck, and he'll be like just a peanut without the shell or something.
They're gonna Nickelodeon him.
He'll be the hip cool. He'll be the hip cool peanut. He'll be like Spuds McKenzie.
Like the new Chuck E. Cheese. My goodness.
Oh man.
I mean, they are killing off old characters. I mean, for the 90th birthday of Nancy Drew, the story that's coming out for Nancy Drew is the Hardy Boys are investigating her death in a new comic book. That's their celebration to her 90th birthday.
That's sad. I mean, come on.
In the chat room, we've got Ronald is next. Ronald McDonald.
The Burger King.
He is cracked nuts. Josh says Skippy can pick him up as a mascot.
Ooh.
Masonic Vader says get rid of the Applejacks guy. There's an Applejacks guy?
I don't remember the Applejack.
No, I remember the honeycomb guy.
Yeah, the bee and Diggum.
Diggum, yeah.
Diggum.
The bee, yeah, Diggum.
Honey Smacks, whatever.
Can we just get John Cena's pistachio elephant come over to pick up the peanut off the floor? Can we just get him to do that?
I'm thinking about getting rid of the bee. Just have Nick Cage smack him like the bee.
Oh, I hope they do kill off the Applejacks mascot. He's terrifying.
I didn't know there was one. So
it's the red guy, isn't it?
He's called. Well, no, they killed Bad Apple is gone. So they had Bad Apple in 2004, and then they came out with Cinnamon. He's a walking, talking cinnamon stick, and they're both kind of terrifying.
Polyfuse says Chester Cheetah, his Cheetos addiction is a bad influence to children.
Dude, Cheetos are
that Applejack's apple looks like he's on meth, man.
Tony the Tiger.
And Cinnamon don't look much better. So they can go. Both of them can go.
I mean, how's like Toucan Sam still around? Like,
parrots live a long time.
I thought parrots lived forever. Don't parrots live for like?
He's not a parrot. He's a toucan.
Oh, toucan. Yeah, I don't know then. He lives off his the healing qualities of Fruit Loops.
Why are we stuck to all like cereal mascots?
Well, are they gonna finally kill off Colonel Sanders after like the 45th million iteration of him over the last 20 years?
Him and made him all hip and cool.
Well, yeah.
You don't remember the Dolph?
Got to be off the charts too.
Yeah, you don't remember the Dolph Ziggler Colonel Sanders?
Oh, I know. Every single wrestler played Colonel Sanders over the last 10 years.
And the dating simulator. So because everybody wanted to Date Colonel Sanders. I don't know. Yeah, so that's it. That's tell us who you think are the next mascots to go and how they'll go. Or if they should go. You know who our mascot is. Next up is
It's
Captain Crunch.
fantastic.
Gets exposed. He's not a real captain.
I mean, after all these years, has he not got a promotion yet? Come on.
Or Crunch. He's soft. That's our chat room for us. That's the insights that we get from the chat room. So thank you guys for coming. The Cocoa Puffs. Wow. I'm not gonna say the rest of that. All right, that's our cast. So let's talk about where you can follow everybody outside of this cast. Bearded Master, where can people follow you?
You can find me at A Bearded Master on Instagram and Twitter, as well as Boot to the Face on Twitter and Boot to the Face _ on Instagram, and both of those are with the number 2.
And Mind Freak, where can people follow you?
You guys can follow me at Twitter at MindFreakMLG, and you guys can also follow me on Xbox at MindFreak, MINDFREVK.
Nudie Rudy.
You can find me as Nudie Rudy on Instagram and on Twitter.
Super Hoovy and Freak.
You can follow me on Twitter at Super Hoovy and Nut, and you can follow me on Instagram at Super Hoovy and Freak.
Masonic Video says Mr. Peanut's going to be a Force Ghost in the Super Bowl commercial for Star Wars Land. Oh God, no. You can follow me on Twitter at _Malice Corp or on Instagram at Mess5150. You can follow this entire podcast of nerds, geeks, pop culturists, Geek Aficionados, Nerd Enthusiast, all that stuff, over at malice-corp.com, or come join us for a chat over on Facebook at the All Things Nerd podcast, where we're always there. We're always willing to talk, and we're always willing to chit-chat. Come back every Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live here to talk all things nerd. And thank you for liking, subscribing, giving that 5-star review wherever you're listening. And we will see you next Friday. Before we go, I'm going to read off our wonderful group of listeners and watchers. We had a Bearded Master, Commander Root, Epic Wall, Jack Malice, Josh Callis, Masonic Vader, Nudie Rudy, Pedopolis, Polyfuse, Ruru2, VNK, Virgo Praz, and Windsock. Thank you guys for coming and joining in the chat room or being here on the show, as some of the names you heard. With that, you keep nerding on, and we'll see you next Friday.